Greetings and welcome to today's session where we shall be developing an app. We shall develop an app, then we make it executable so that we have a setup for it. You are able to run it on any Windows operating system platform, or you are able to give it to your colleague to test it out and all that. It will be an executable file or a setup. We shall be using Visual Basic or Visual Studio. This time around we are using Visual Basic 6, the portable version. This one you don't need installation, you just drop it on your desktop and run it normally. But here, giving a scenario of the new curriculum, we are likely to attend to this scenario. Here the learner has identified a problem that needs to be sorted in his community or her community. The Kampala capital city Lord Mayor wants an application that determines voters' eligibility and displays one of the three messages. The messages and criteria for displaying each messages are as follows. The message: you are too young to vote. The criteria, it means that the person is younger than 18 years old. Then the message: you can vote if the person is at least 18 years old and is registered to vote. Message: you must register before you can vote. This means that the person is at least 18 years old but is not registered to vote. So the Lord Mayor has assigned you to develop a working application program for this company. So in your preparations, develop a pseudocode, a flowchart, and finally choose from either VB or C languages to write a code that will be used for this application. So this is the problem at hand that we are supposed to solve. So it means that after all the preparations, we need to see how we deal with the new curriculum. When it comes to projects, how do we award the learners based on this kind of guide, etc, etc. So after developing our app, we shall go through that project work marking guide and see what to mark for the learner. So now from here, we need to develop a pseudocode. So a pseudocode, you start, then you print enter age. After inputting the age, if the age is greater or equal to 18, then if you are registered, that is, if registered equals true, you print you can vote. Else, you print you must register before you can vote. That means that you are greater equal to 18 years, but you are not registered. So if it is false, the system will display you must register before you can vote. Else, that means that it will print you are too young to vote, whether you are registered or not, but you are below 18 years, it will print you are too young to vote. Then we end our if. So after preparing your pseudocode, then you develop a flowchart. So it is better you develop a flowchart that will guide you in your coding. So you start, that is an oval, you store age in a variable, and is that age greater equal to 18? If yes, are you registered? If it is yes that you are registered, then you can vote, then you stop. But if registered is no, you are not registered, it will display you must register before you can vote. Then we stop there. If your age is less than 18, that means that you are less than 18, then it will display you are too young to vote, and then we stop there. So having developed your pseudocode, you have also developed your flowchart. Then what follows is you to now code. You need to get a programming language, you code this and have an application program that you can run. So we are going to use this Visual Basic 6. So I'm going to create a folder where we can store our project. So let me call it voters app. That is my folder. So I'm going to run Visual Basic Portable 6. I click yes. So from there, you must first click and allow exe creation, meaning that the app we are going to develop, we need to make it an executable file. So reg key, allow exe creation. So you click there, then the message will pop up here. You click yes, and another message, you click OK. So the registry has been added, and now you can run Visual Basic 6. So when I run this, I want to develop that simple app, standard exe, I open. So from here, we are going to design our form. So this is form 1. We can give it a title, like you see here, Project 1 Microsoft Visual Basic Design. This is Project 1 Form 1. So I would like to give this form a name. And which name are we giving it? For example, so here under caption, we can say this form is called voters eligibility. Something like that, it appears there. Then we can design our form to give it a color. For example, this back color, we can go under palette, we say maybe orange, something like that. That is our form back color. Then we are going to put some elements on our form. This is the toolbox. So you must have a toolbox. You can go to view toolbox. So this toolbox of ours, let's first put a label. A label can be a heading. So in this label, click on it. You go under caption. Instead of label 1, we can call it voter eligibility. Voter eligibility form, something like that. Then this, we can increase its font. So you scroll down here on the properties label. So here font, I can bold it, maybe font size 14. I click OK. So that is our form heading. Then we are going to bring a command button. This command button, we can also label it under caption. We can give it, we can say, for example, click me, or we can say vote. Let's call it vote. So this, we can also increase its font size. Under font, you can click there, we can bold it, font size 14. I click OK. So this, we also need a checkbox, so we can even change the font color of this. So here we can change our color. Okay, this didn't change. Let's work on it. The back color. Okay, let's put also a checkbox. So this checkbox, yeah, that is our checkbox. So with this checkbox, we can as well leave it as check 1, or you can also click on it. You also change its caption. I can call it registered. Registered, something like that. Meaning that we shall tick here if you are registered. If you are not registered, we are not going to tick. So this is our simple form. We are going to double click on this button which we called vote, and then we code it. So I double click the vote button. So from here we can say dim age as integer, dim age as integer. Then we can say age equals, we are going to use a value input, var input box, open brackets, open quotes, enter age. We close the quotes, close the brackets twice. Then more to that, we can say if age is greater or equal to 18, then we can say that if the check one, the other checkbox we added, check one dot value equals 1, meaning that it is true, then we can say that the message box should display, open brackets, open quotes, you can vote, you close quotes and brackets, else the message box should display you must register before you can vote. You close quotes, close the brackets, you must register before you can vote, or before can vote. Let's leave it there. More to that, here we can end if, and then else message box should display you are too young, to vote. You close quotes and brackets, and if finally. So we can test here to see if our app is now working. So let's test. So when we test, this is our form. I click on vote. I put, let's say, 24 years. I click OK. It says you must register before you can vote. Click OK. That means that I first register, I vote. I can put 34 years. I click OK. It says you can vote. Let's say I'm registered and I'm 12 years. Okay. It says you are too young to vote. Okay. So that's how we have tested it. We can stop. I want us now to make this an executable file so that you can run it on your computer. You can share an app with your colleagues. So this is how we are going to make it an app. So this form of ours, we click on file, make project1.exe. So here we can now locate where to save it. I'm going to put it on the desktop. I look for a folder. There is a folder I call the voters app. So I can call this voters app.exe. So this I can click OK. Now our app in the folder here we are. This is the app, so you can run it. So this is the app now installed on our computer. So when I check the box, I click on vote and I put 45 years. I click OK. You can vote. I click OK. I remove the checkbox, vote 40 years. OK. You must register before you can vote. I click OK. So this is the app that we have developed. Now coming to the new curriculum. With the new curriculum, we have the project marking guide. Let's say that the learner has done this as a project and it is fully functioning. There is a summary of the project work marking guide. So this kind of summary, I want us to briefly talk about it. There are some aspects to be marked. Did the learner write an appropriate project title from the problem? So we identified this as our problem. This KCCA wants this application, and now the learner writes the title as voter eligibility determination application for KCCA. That's the title for the problem. Then that means that the title reflects the purpose of the application and target user group, residents of Kampala city. That's what we have. It is always good to have a title that gives a clear idea of what the project is about. Then, was the learner's problem aligned to any theme in the subject? Now this is ICT, meaning that this project of developing an app can run under data management and sharing. Did the learner write the objectives and benefits of their project? So we can have the objectives and benefits either or. So we have, for example, objectives, determine voter eligibility. The primary objective is to accurately determine the eligibility of a potential voter based on their age and registration status. That's why when you are to vote, you first, are you registered or not? If I tap registered and I click on vote and I put 45 years and I say okay, it is going to say you can vote. If I don't check registration status and I click on vote, I put 45 years, it is saying you must register before you can vote. Okay, then user-friendly interface, develop an application with a simple and intuitive interface that can be easily used by the residents of KCCA. Hopefully this app is user-friendly, so you click there, check, vote. More to that, promote voter registration. So my objective is by informing unregistered but eligible individuals that they must register to vote. The application aims to engage voter registration, efficient and reliable. Ensure that the application is efficient in terms of response time and reliable in terms of accuracy of the eligibility determination. So it is reliable and efficiency. So when I check that you are registered and then I put 45 years, it is very fast. Okay, more to that, the benefits. Informed citizens, the application will help Kampala city residents to understand their voting rights and take necessary actions if they are eligible but not registered to vote. Increase the voter turnout by making it easy to check voting eligibility and promoting the importance of registration. The application could potentially increase voter turnout. Reduce the administrative burden. The application can reduce the workload of administrative staff by automating the process of checking voter eligibility. Then promotion of democratic engagement. Overall, the application will promote democratic engagement by making the process of voting more accessible and understandable. So to a learner level, to a student, we can say that the learner will learn basic programming, to understand basics of programming using Visual Basic 6, including variables, conditionals, and user input or output. The learner who is able to learn problem solving, learn how to break down a problem into smaller manageable parts, to solve it using a code. To understand voting eligibility, learn about the criteria for voting eligibility and how it varies based on age and registration status. Those can be other objectives. Then benefits, skill development. It improves programming, problem solving, and logical thinking skills. Real world application, apply what they learn in real world context, making the learning process more engaging and relevant. Civic awareness, increase awareness about the importance of voting and the process of voter registration. Confidence building, completing the project successfully can boost the students' confidence in their ability to tackle programming project. So you have done your project, you have saved it. It can be heavier than this. It may be a calculator and all that. So more to that, question 4 is about, did the learner state an appropriate tangible product to make? So the learner said is voter eligibility determination application, and that is the application that we have made. Did the learner explain how his or her product will work? So the application flow, the user launches the application. So meaning that I will launch my application. From there, it launches. So after launching the application, the user enters their age in the assigned input field. Then the user checks the registration checkbox if they are registered to vote. The user clicks submit button. The application checks the user's age and registration status and displays the appropriate message in the result display area. So if I say you are registered and I put age as 22, I click OK. That is the message displayed. I can vote. More to that, did the learner draw or describe a plan, stroke design of their product? So here we are considering the layout since we are a programmer, such kind of a layout where we passed through in developing. Here you can see there is user interaction. When the user clicks the command button, the application will execute the code with the command. So here we had to draw this button for the user interface. Then age input, the application will display an input box asking the user to enter their age. Their user's input then store age as a variable. More to that, registration status, the application checks the value of the checkbox. Is it checked or not? If it is checked, that value is 1. The registration variable is set to true. If the checkbox is not checked, registered is set false. Then eligibility, if the user is less than 18, a message is displayed saying you are too young to vote. If the user's age is 18 or older and they are registered equals true, a message is saying you can vote. If the user age is 18 or older but they are not registered, that is registered equals false, a message box will display you must register before you can vote. So this design ensures that the application is easy to use and understand, making it accessible to a wide range of users. That's why we had to put even a flow chart to ensure that this process, the learner has described the plan very well. So more to that, did the learner use Google, People, Book to research about the project? So here, the learner used textbooks on elementary programming, video tutorials on Visual Basic programming, and assistance from other programmers. So that means that the learner used some resources. Did the learner explain the procedure of making his or her project? So here we now assume the learner has gone through the process of program development cycle, where there is problem recognition, identification of the problem, problem definition, problem design, problem coding, problem testing and debugging, problem implementation and maintenance, problem documentation. So this is where a learner is telling you the procedure for making his or her product can go through the program development cycle. More to that, did the learner explain how the product's effectiveness will be tested? So here we can try different scenarios. The learner can try entering different ages and checking or unchecking. That's what we have been doing. You enter 18. If the person is not registered, it will tell you register before you can vote. So you can also ask friends and families to test. So you ask those friends to test the app. That's why you have made it executable. You can share this very app to your friends. Can burn it on CD, can send it on a flash, can send it via Google Drive so that they can test it out. So you can make a checklist. The learner can create a checklist of all the different scenarios that the application should handle correctly. They can then go through the checklist and mark each of the scenarios as they test it. So meaning that I can check, you don't register, I put 18. It says you must register before you can vote. If I'm registered and I put 18, you can vote. What if I'm registered and I'm 10 years? I click OK, you are too young to vote. So those are the different scenarios we are talking about. So we have tested the effectiveness of the product. So more to that, did the learner make a simple project work plan or a schedule to follow? Now here the learner is saying that item number 1, the activity is research and planning. And under research and planning, the learner is looking at understand the project requirements, learn about voter eligibility criteria, plan the application features and design. So we are saying that this will take 7 days. The learner starts from 5th Feb to 12th Feb. Those are 7 days. Design and implement and develop. So under here, the learner is going to design the application layout. That means that you are doing this process, you are designing. Then from there, you start the coding the application in VB Portable 6. So there you double click, you start the coding process. And then from there, you implement the function to check the voter eligibility. So from there, you are testing. Is it working? You are testing it out. Then more to that, that means that we are giving the learner at least 6 days to ensure that this product is well. Testing and refinement. You test the application with different scenarios, like what we have been doing. Refine the codes based on testing results. For example, you find that maybe somewhere you never ended your if. Then when you run and you try to test, it brings errors. So such kind of things, I click OK. I can test and I add end if, so that if I run, if we run and we put an edge, it should be able to work. So those are scenarios that we are saying that refine the code based on testing results, improve the user interface if needed. So if we want, one can go in and change the layout here. If you find that this one is not going to favor very many, you change the layout and all that. More to that, finalization and presentation. So the above, testing and refinement, 6 days. Finalization and presentation, here you conduct final testing of the application. That means that you can make it executable in that stage. You prepare a presentation or a report about the project, then present the project to the class or submit the project report. So here the learner must write a project that is detailing the title of the project, resources that were used, how the project is going to work, the problem that it is going to solve in the community, and then challenges that you faced. You can also include recommendations. Then from there, submit your report with all that. Then 11, did the learner identify materials to use or made budget for the project? So materials, we are saying a computer. So assume that you have the computer already. That means that you are going to use the computer to write and test your code. I already have this, so no additional cost. Then Visual Basic. This is the software I will use to write my VB code. It is free to download. Then paper and pens, pencils, these ones will be for sketching my design and making notes. So budget can be around that. Then learning resources, that is internet, especially YouTube, to learn about VB programming. So here you can have a table form. Item number 1, books. These are for sketching my design and making notes like a pseudocode, flowcharts, and form design. I will need 1 book, maybe at 1,500. That is the amount. I will need 1 pen for writing. The above, it is for 1,000. Mobile internet, meaning that I will need data to make research on internet and YouTube video tutorials about programming. 5 GB can be enough for my project at 20,000, and that's my total budget. Then there are more questions like organization. Was the learner project work organized? So you have already seen how the learner has presented the work and all that. The budgets are there. Then use of resources. How did the learner utilize the resources properly? Was the asked data utilized very well? The learner can also provide reference materials in the project of the videos that were watched. Then was the learner able to plan and carry out investigation? So meaning that by the time this learner came out to this problem for the community, the learner did some investigation and found out that KCCA needs an app that will help in voting. Then more to that, we are looking at was the learner able to sort and analyze information. So when you are looking at this information, messages, the criteria, the learner is sorting and analyzing, goes ahead to write a pseudocode, how this information will flow, gives out a flow chart. You are sorting and analyzing this information. More to that, was the learner able to identify problems and way forward? So the problem was identified. The road mayor assigned to develop a working application program. So you look at this problem and then you look at the way forward and come out with a voting app. Was the learner able to predict outcomes and make reasoned decisions? So meaning that by the time you develop a code, to use, you have done what? You have predicted outcomes and made reasoned decisions. Was the learner able to evaluate different solutions? So here, of course, you don't test one code, you can test as many codes so that you can come out with different solutions. Then, was the learner able to use imaginations to explore possibilities? So I'm sure by the time the learner comes to this, must have tried this. How about, for example, if I use checkbox dot value equals true, what comes out? So those different programming languages you can imagine if I use C++, what will happen? Then was the learner able to work with others to generate ideas? So meaning that if you develop this, you can give your fellow colleagues to test out and see. They can give you a way forward on how best it can work out. If the background color is not okay, you change like that. Was the learner able to suggest and develop new solutions? So the learner can tell you the way forward after developing this, what next can work for the community based on the experience that he has gained from that project. More to that, was the learner able was the learner able to look for patterns and make generalization? So same. So the learner went through the entire project, can generalize and say, this project can work for all the people in Kampala, or for a particular people, or for elite, or those who know computer, something like that. Was the learner able to listen attentively with comprehension? So here, of course, here you test if the learner understood the problem very well, came out with a pseudocode, the processes, a flowchart, meaning that the learner here, if you see the actual product, it means that the learner was able to listen attentively and comprehend. Was the learner able to talk confidently and explain things clearly? So here when the learner is presenting the project, the learner is showing to the fellow colleagues, is he confident? Can he explain why he used such kind of a flowchart, why the kind of pseudocode, why the VB code, why he did not use the C++, or what were the advantages of this programming language over the other? Is the learner able to communicate and explain confidently? Then was the learner able to read accurately and fluently to others? Yes. In presentation, is the learner able to explain the codes very well and how the product will work? Was the learner able to write and present coherently? So here the learner is writing a project, writing those pseudocodes and all that. Same applies to other projects that the learner has done. Is able to write and present coherently. Did the learner use a range of media to communicate? Did the learner communicate? Maybe today I have my presentation about the app I developed. The learner can pin a notes board. Can pin on notes board. The learner can send an email to the fellow colleagues. If they have a WhatsApp group, the learner can also communicate from there. So a wide range of communication. The learner can, maybe towards break steps in stream B, says today afternoon I'm launching my app, be there. So a range of media to communicate to to communicate the idea or the product. Was the learner able to work effectively in diverse teams? So here, let's say colleagues were doing the same project. The learner can also go to different teams, see what they are doing, and borrow from there. As a teacher, you are observing and analyzing this learner. Was the learner able to interact effectively with others? So as you are asking for help here and there, or checking what others are doing, you interact. If you are doing the project together, you are giving solutions to friends and they are also contributing. Was the learner able to take responsibility for their own learning? So here you are looking at a learner meeting deadlines, ensuring that the product is finalized, the report is there. That means that they have taken responsibility of their own learning. So when you look at was the learner able to work independently with persistence? So the learner reaching at a level of producing such an app, meaning that he worked independently. If he asked for assistance, no problem, but at least has reached at the time when he's launching the app and you have seen it. Was the learner able to manage goals and time? So you have to go back and confirm the time limits. What the learner said will complete, was it accomplished in the same range? So you, the supervisor who is always following, you said you are going to design the application and layout, but it is already the third week. I haven't seen you do that. So here you are managing, you are seeing how the learner is managing time. So all this, you must ensure that the learner is really working well with it. So more to that, you find that you are also looking at questions like was the learner able to illustrate peace and harmony in his or her project? Of course, peace and harmony are not just about the absence of conflict in the group, but also fairness and justice and mutual respect as the learner is doing the project. So by promoting these values through this project, the learner can contribute to a more peaceful and harmony world. So was the learner able to express integrity and honesty? So here you need to remember that integrity and honesty are about doing what is right and truthful, even when no one is watching. So by incorporating these values into the project, the learner can demonstrate their commitment to these important ethical principles. Was the learner able to exhibit patriotism in his or her project? So here you need also to remember that patriotism is about respect and love for one's country. And it can be expressed in many ways, introducing through projects like maybe someone is contributing to the community, you have developed the app. That means that you have shown patriotism to that community. Then, was the learner able to show a positive attitude towards work? So the learner showing a positive attitude towards work, if he has met the following criteria: he or she was able to take responsibility for own learning and work independently. You can assess that. He was able to manage goals and effect them on time. He was able to respect human rights, exhibiting patriotism. So all these are the ones you can say he has positive attitude towards work. Was the learner able to respect human rights? So of course, as we are testing all this, the learner can avoid collecting, storing, or sharing any personal information that is not necessary for the project purpose. The learner can ensure that the application does not discriminate or exclude anyone based on their race, gender, religion, or other personal characteristics. The learner can also make the application accessible and user-friendly for people with disabilities or language barriers. That is respect for human rights. More to that, was the learner able to demonstrate self-control in the project? So the learner can set a realistic and specific goal for completing the project, such as finishing one task per week or spending a certain amount of time per day on the project. The learner can also use tools like timers, blockers, or reminders to help them stay focused and disciplined. For example, the learner can say, let me delay for lunch and I first finish this code. That means that there is self-control there. The learner can also seek feedback and support from others, such as the teacher, peers, or family. The learner can also ask for constructive criticism, advice, or engagement to help them improve their work and stay motivated. The learner can also learn from others who have successfully completed similar projects and evaluate their habits and techniques. So that's why we say the learner can use YouTube to learn about Visual Basic Programming, come up with such a link, a project. Remember, self-control is a skill that can be improved with practice and patience. So here, the learner earns 55 marks so far. Then in phase 3 and phase 4, originality, was the product honestly made by the learner himself? And is there any uniqueness in the product presented? So you look at those learners who have done programming, what is the uniqueness in product that they have made? Then creativity, did the learner use any imaginations or original ideas to create the product presented? Was there any inventiveness to make a new or a valuable product? So you are giving marks are located there. Innovation, accuracy, you test effectiveness and efficiency of the product. So this is how you award all the scores. So overall, you find that the learner is getting 100% in the project. So with this, please follow all the lessons on my YouTube channel. Those who love programming, go on YouTube, search for Kakuru Benard. And when you search for Kakuru Benard, so when you reach there, you can look for programming, those who love more programming. So here you can search for programming. So when you look for programming, you will find other numbers. Programming with VB lesson 1, lesson 2, lesson 4, 5, 3. All the lessons are there that will guide you in programming and having projects like these. You make them executable and install on your computers, share with your friends. So remember to share with your friends this channel so that they can learn a lot. So of recent, I have also uploaded more video lessons. There was a video for UNEB paper 2 sub ICT, UNEB paper 3 sub ICT. So these are practical ones. Then UNEB sub ICT paper 1, that is theory, the draft marking guide. These are also like guides for you to follow. So a number of lessons are there. Follow up this YouTube channel, subscribe and share to colleagues. God bless.